Hey y'all, thank you for coming to my channel today. We're going to talk about cross stitch and a few other crafty bits and pieces. My name's Holly. It's nice to meet you. I'm an American married to an Englishman and living in northern England. It's been an adventure. I've been here for nearly 25 years now. So my accent is changed a lot from what it used to be. But I love crafting. My whole life revolves around crafting, and it has since I was about 7 years old when I learned how to crochet and needlepoint. I didn't learn to cross stitch until I was 13, and I taught myself from a kit I got from Walmart. But I've been crafting more, I've done quilting and embroidery and knitting and all kinds of things because I just love that creative process, even though my crafty endeavors are limited to pattern. I think artists are amazing, and I wish I could just translate something from my mind onto a piece of paper, a piece of fabric, but I'm afraid that's not one of my fortes. Anyway, let's talk about this, and I'm going to talk about my my full coverages, which are at the moment Heaven and Earth Designs. That's what my channel is called, my daily games. I did buy an Artisy pattern recently that I'm looking forward to starting, but I've got about a dozen or so patterns waiting in my pattern keeper for me to start. So when that happens, that will be an exciting thing. But I tend not to do too many projects at the time. Even though I'll have a variety of projects, I tend not to have too many projects going on at the same time. Even though it's quite exciting to see people have a vast array of projects, I'm not a person who can enjoy a plethora of a multitude of projects like that, even though I do enjoy having a variety. So normally I have it at the moment. I have 3 HAEDs going, or 3 Heaven and Earth Designs full coverages going. I also have a few non-full coverages. I've just finished the dimensions a couple months ago. At the moment, you'll see the projects I've got going. I do have a few UFOs that I need to get back to, which I feel really guilty about. I also have, I love knitting socks, strangely enough. I love knitting vanilla socks, just a plain box standard knit sock, usually with really funky colored yarns. And I love crocheting blankets, and I've got one on the go that I'll show you towards the end, even though I know a lot of people are not really keen on seeing other projects than cross stitch. But I'll show you my cross stitch first, and then you can just flitter out of the way if you decide that you don't want to see the other see the crochet. I'm not going to show any of my knitting today or my quilting, but let's just say I quilted myself out of quilt projects because I made so many quilts in a few years that people just said no more. And so also, since I moved last September. We sold our home. We're currently in rented accommodation, and we moved 6 hours away from where we used to be. It was 6.5 hours. So a lot of my stuff is still in storage while we're trying to find a home to buy that we're comfortable with, because we want it to be our forever home. Whether it will be or not is a different thing, but we're looking for a home that will be big enough for me to have a craft room as well as having a spare room for guests, especially when our son and his fiance come to visit. Anyway, coming back to my crafts. First and foremost, I usually start my day with working on the Falling Snow the Falling Snow, which is Heaven and Earth designs, as you can see from the watermark there. Now, I first started working this. Oh, wrong one. I first started working this in columns like I normally do. I know a lot of people work from the top and down, but my mind works best if I work in columns going down. But all the blues and the grays and the creams, whites, whatever that is in this corner was just a little bit mind numbing, especially since I did it for a year, because this project is done on 25 count, which is my first project on 25 count. 25 count evenly with Donna. I like the look of it. Blind as a bat. So 25 count, as much as I love it, it's not an enjoyable experience for very long for me. So I tend to stick for about 100 stitches a day now. But last year, when we were moving, last summer we were getting prepared to move, and then we moved in September. And then I was focusing on the finish for a couple. I'm trying to think. I focused on the finish for 3 projects. So I put the Falling Snow on the back burner for a few months and only worked on it occasionally, which really dented. I was hoping to have it done by this Christmas. That is not going to happen, which is fine. It's not an important thing. I've done loads of Christmas cross-stitch projects over the years. So as much as I love it, I love the look of it, and I'm looking forward to having it to put on my wall at Christmas one day. It doesn't look like I'll have it done until 2023 and possibly 2024, but at least I'll have it done, right? Anyway, here's my project. This is my Falling Snow. Let's see if I can get it to where it looks nice. Now, this is also one of my only projects I work in on a Qsnap. I prefer working in hand. This is working on a Qsnap that is awkward for me. While on the other side, because it's an even weave, I find that the stitches look neater with and they don't slide underneath the weft and whatever it is, the weft or the waffle, I can't remember. But they don't slide under as much if it's stretched out on the Qsnap. But I find it a bit of a pain, to be honest, and it's a lot quicker for me to do stitching in hand. But anyway, it's a lovely project, and I've actually been considering doing a project on 28 count. I know that it will be forever, so I'm looking for a tiny project to do on in darker colors, so I can, not darker, but I found one project I want to do, but it's like a snow. Snow So Much in Love, I think it is, by Heaven and Earth Designs, where you have these 2 little snowmen, a man and a woman, and it reminds me of my husband and I, because we're both cuddly, or you could say. We resemble the snowmen very well in that respect, and we are very much in love. So I want to do it, but not on 28 count. No light whites, grays, and all those light colors and light blues on 28 count. That would really, my eyes would go on strike. So that's not going to happen. Excuse me. Anyway, the next project I usually work on is mountain landscape. Whoops, wrong way. No. Trying to get the light on it. There we go. It's glorious. Absolutely glorious. Woo. Wrong way. Anyway, this is being done on 18 count Ada. I generally work on Ada. I find it most comfortable for my eyes. I used to work on 14 count, but 14 count for full coverage is very pixelated in my estimation. And yeah, even the project I finished last year, well, 2 projects I finished on 14 count in the last year, I've been disappointed with the results. Yes, they look lovely if you stand across from the room, but if you're up close, it's very blurry. And it's as much as I enjoy the process of cross stitching on 14 counts, I don't enjoy the look of it. So I've moved down to 18 count, and even so, 18 count, I tend to try to pick patterns where it's not a lot of fine details. As much as I love Amy Stewart designs, there's too many details and it looks fabulous. It's like Suki the brown-eyed stitcher. Her treasure hunt bookshelf is flipping amazing, and I really love it. But I couldn't dedicate that many years to stitching on such a small count for that many stitches. I know she's like, go ahead, you can do it. And I'm like, when I mentioned it to my husband, he looked at me like I'd grown 2 heads. He's like, really? He's like, I don't think that's a good idea. And I agree. I'm legally blind in my eyes without my glasses, so yeah, it's tricky. Anyway, going back to mountain landscape, I started this with Angie Slowly Crafts on Instagram, and she's the one that started me on this. And she actually gifted this to me, which was really sweet. I got it. She didn't realize it was my birthday, but I got it on my birthday, and it was so amazing. But yeah, it's been lovely to stitch with another person, and it is a lovely pattern. You see, oops, wrong way. You see that sky? That sky. Oops. Let's see. You can't really see it on this. Let's see if that works better. No. Anyway, even though it's not very nice at the moment. Anyway, this is 18 count fabric. I've rooted it myself, obviously. And you can see I'm working in columns down. I have all my projects, all my Heaven and Earth designs kit up into a bottom box, and I'll show you here. I just have it in a bottom box with its name on it, and I usually have the cover picture and the thread list, and I put it all in there. But what I do is I don't re-thread all the time. I store my threaded needles in there. I've thought about working straight from my stash, but at present my stash is my set is, it's not full set, but it's like over 7 boxes long at the moment, because some threads I've got tons, and what I do is I tend to buy all the threads that I need for a set, first picking the ones from my stash. But I've been cross stitching now since I was 13, off and on. So I've bought threads that I have left over that I bought in the States before I came over here. So I've got threads that are like 30, 35 years old, probably older than that. And then I love picking them up at a thrift shop or a charity shop, whatever you want to call it. Or went into the antique shop a few months ago and found loads of DMCs, which were amazing. I finished a few, probably about 8 years ago now. Someone I knew was a friend's grandmother. Her friend passed away. She was in the process of making a quilt for her granddaughter. And what I did is, she said, would you finish this for her? because the granddaughter was, I think, 10 years old at that time. She was devastated. She was really close to her grandmother, and she said, you know, you're the only person we know that will do quilting, because at this time the grandmother had given up quilting herself. So I was the only one that was doing quilting at that point in time. So they gave me all the things. The woman had already done most of her quilt block. It was just a matter of sewing it together and batting and whatever. So I did it. It was something I could do for someone who was grieving, for a young lady who was grieving, and it meant a lot to the grandmother's two daughters and the granddaughter. So I made her twin size quilt. Well, put it together, I should say. Finished a couple of blocks that needed to be done and made it for her. But in response, as a thank you, they gave me all of her crafting bits, her quilting and her cross stitch stuff. So I got loads. I've got quite a bit of thread from this lady's staff, and I'm thankful for it. But for some reason, she had like 10, 15 bobbins of the same color in some things, which I mean, it took me forever to straighten it out because it was all tangled. And she was one of these ladies who left she left her thread in the skein, and she would just pull out. But over the years, everything was all tangled, and I'm not one to just go, oh, well, that's not good, I'll throw it away. I'm very thrifty in that respect because I was raised by my grandmother, and it was always like, you are thrifty. This is not an option yet. It's before the reuse recycle thing. I'd been doing it my entire life, so it was nothing new for me. But anyway, it took me a long time to sort out all the threads, but she did have quite a few threads of the same color. So quite a few skeins of the same color, so it took me a while to sort them out. So therefore, between past projects and all the, if I find something on some DMC for a very good price, either on eBay or in charity shop, or like say the antique shop, I'll buy them because I know that I will eventually use them. If not for my heaven and earth designs, but also for it's like I use my non-branded floss to make. My husband loves friendship bracelets. It's like our anniversary's coming up, so I'll be making him some different friendship bracelets, and he loves them. He loves to wear them. It's not my thing, but he likes looking at him and saying, "Oh, well, son made this. Our son made us this, and you made me this," and he likes different patterns and different threads. And his we'd always try to make him at least one with his favorite football team colors in it, which is West Ham, which is a soccer team for non-English or non-British people, but I will make them like that. It's a quirk of his, and I'm quite happy to spend a few minutes making a bracelet for various different occasions. But anyway, going back to so yeah, I'm sitting there chattering away, and let me get back to my original plan. This is the next project, and this is the project I spent. I spend most of my time on. This is my focus project. I started this because Angie slowly crafts. She encouraged me because she had birds. She had bird garden, and I said, "Well, I've got some, and I really want to start it." My husband asked me to start because I got Leonid Afimov's mini evening. That's another thing about my HAEDs, or my Heaven and Earth designs. I don't do the big ones. No. I'm 54. So the way I look at it, I don't know how long my eyes are going to last, and I'd rather get out lots more smaller projects than concentrate on one massive one, even though I do like the look of a Max Colors super size. We wouldn't want something that big on our wall anyway. But even having a regular size HAED, that's a lot of stitches, and yeah, even if it's 300 or 400 stitches, that's 4 minis, or at least 4 minis I can do. So I'd rather do the smaller ones. They put better on our wall. They're easier to frame, and I get a more of a variety because I'm not concentrating on just one thing. Anyway, so she had the bird garden, and she's like, well, and I said, well, I've got the birds and blooms, and she's like, oh yeah, you should start it. So once I finished Santa's Magical Flight ornament from Heaven Designs for Christmas, thinking I was going to frame it, not realizing that yes, it's a circular one, and I can just order it online. They only want the mat. I've got a frame for it, but they wanted the mat that they wanted for you. It's like £8, which we didn't mind, but they want they want twice as much for the postage and packing than they do for the mat. And so it just got put on them. I'll wait. I've got another ornament already bought, pattern bought, that I'll eventually finish, but it's not on the agenda anytime soon. So what we've done in the past is my husband usually frames my things. We've never framed anything that awkward. I've got a few finished projects that are going to be a bit awkward to frame, so I don't know what we're going to do, but what we'll probably do is next time we live out in the boonies, well, boonies English style. We live out in the countryside. We live about 25 minutes from the nearest town. We live in a tiny little village, about 10 minutes from the seaside, which is nothing. But the nearest craft store is over an hour and a half away, and they're only Hobby Crafts. After having Hobby Lobby and Michael's and other, and Walmart craft sections available, it's a bit of a less of an exciting experience to go to Hobby Crafts. It tends to cater to people who are not really crafters that much. It's more the people who are dabblers, not serious crafters. But anyway, let me get back to birds and blooms. I've got, oh goodness, okay. For Falling Snow, I've done 20,135 stitches out of 104,400, and I've got 19.29%. Mountain Landscape, I've done 12,291 stitches out of 68,250, and I've done 18.01%. And Birds and Blooms, I've done 21,169,000 stitches out of 58,000 stitches, and I've done 36.50%. Oops, there's my alarm. But anyway, here it is. So it's a third. Oh, goodness. Oops. There we go. Kind of. It's not as vibrant as it is in real life. It's fantastic in real life. Every time, you're stitching away, and it does have a lot of confetti. Not as much as Secret Garden, which I did I finished in January, I think it was, this year. The Secret Garden was very color change happy, shall we say. But it's got such vibrant colors, and you come into a bird and you're like, yay! Yay! You get to the sky and all the pretty colors in the sky, and you're just like, oh, yay! So yes, excitement. So those are the three Heaven and Earth designs I've got going, the full coverage I've got going at the moment. Now, I started. Oops. There we go. I started. Needlecraft Annie was doing these little these little stockings. Oops, tiny stockings. There we go. These tiny stocking ornaments, And I thought most of them were adorable, and they are. And then I was watching her, and I started, like quite a few people, I'll find somebody I really like, and I'll start at their first one. Or a lot of times I'll just put in Flosstube #1, and I'll bring up, and I'll start going through people, which is pretty cool. But I was going through her first videos, and then she was doing these little stockings, and I was like, oh, that's so cute. So I bought and then the kit came up at half price, because I've had this on my shopping basket or want list, or to buy later list for ages. And when it came up half price, I was like, that's a side, yay! And I love Christmas. I love making ornaments for my Christmas tree, Christmas decorations. And in fact, that's one of the first things I will go towards if I'm looking at patterns. And I only bring them out for about a month every year, well, a month and a half, because we usually put the tree up or get our Christmas decorations out the first weekend of December. And then we leave them up until the 6th of January, because that's my husband's custom. It's left up to me. The way I am, I used to always take my tree down on Boxing, well, they call it Boxing Day at work, but the day after Christmas Day. But over here, Boxing Day is a holiday, usually for family and friends to come over or swap around or whatever. But it's more like let's have a buffet and everybody come around. Well, it's never been something that big for us. For years, my husband's work was, he worked Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day. So we never really hosted anything, because by the time he finished by Boxing Day, he'd been working usually almost every day the month of December. So he was exhausted and he just wanted to relax, at least for a while. So Boxing Day was never anything for us. But in the States, before I came over here, and my tree came down Boxing. One year I even took it down Christmas Eve, because it's not Christmas Eve, Christmas Day evening. Because the saddest thing to me is seeing a Christmas tree at the end of all the presents taken out of it, out from underneath it, and the ornaments are askew, and the tree looks a bit bedraggled, and then you've got this bedraggled tree with an empty, no presents underneath, and it's like, oh, sad. But my husband loves it, and he loves enjoying the look of the lights twinkling up against the ceiling. So and for him, all those years he was working most of December, for him coming home and spending the week between Christmas and New Year, being able to relax and enjoy the tree, because he didn't really get a chance that much. So it's not only his family tradition, but it's also something that he personally enjoys, which I love, the fact that he loves my Christmas tree as much as I do. Anyway, Needlecraft Danny was doing these, and most of them, I have to learn how to do this, are super, super cute. Some of them I'm not overly keen on. Where's that angel? What's wrong one? That angel's got some really weird looking legs. I'm not a fan of cross stitching humans anyway, because I never can get their faces to look nice. And that dog looks really. What's there? That dog looks really oddly shaped. So I don't know if I'll do those two. But overall, most of them are adorable. I can't wait to do oh, goodness, where is it there? I can't wait to do that one. We have a lot of lighthouses near us, because we live on the area. I think it's technically called the North Sea, but it's leading into the English Channel, and it's quite shallow along our coast, and there's lots of rocky outcrops. Well, not lots, there are rocky outcrops, so you've got a lot of lighthouses near us, which is kind of funky. But anyway, put that there. I have been, I rearranged, I have to rearrange it here. So I'll start it off with, where's the other one? Oh, crumbs, there it is. I numbered them all because I was planning on, I like to do things in order. It's a weird quirk of mine, but I was planning on starting at 1 and just working my way through, regardless of whether I like the pattern or not. But I saw this and I just had to do it first. Oh, goodness, there we go. How adorable. I just thought it was amazing. And I changed it up a wee bit. I think it was I put more back stitching in it than it called for. But I think it came out really cute, and I'm considering doing this one twice, maybe in different colors. And then I thought, okay, I'll be a good girl and I'll start off with number 1 and work my way down. So I did this. Oh, and the reason why everything is put on the, you see the seam, what's wrong way? You see the seam, not seam, the edge of the fabric. Can't remember it now. Goodness, I've done quilting for years, so I learned how to quilt when I was 15, because my grandmother went through the quilting phase. On the quilting frame, doing it with hand, doing all the layers, she did the patchwork in with the sewing machine, and then we hand quilted it on a massive quilting frame that Granddaddy made, and that was very basic, very simple, but it's a lovely quilt, and I really super enjoyed it. But anyway, I took it up later in life, but I can't remember what it is. But anyway, you can see that along the way, and also when I was cutting the fabric, I cut it a wee bit wonky. So on this one, when I was making it, I should have used half stitches there, but once I found out, I'd already done a lot of back stitching and stuff, and there was just no way I was going to pull it back out, so I just left it. It's not that much of a, it's not going to destroy it if I leave it like that. I like the horse. I'm not really keen on the shadowy bits anyway, and the directions for this kit, the directions aren't great, and the variety of back stitching that it requires, it's very hard to tell which one you need. So you kind of look at the picture and go, I think that's what it is. But anyway, I tried it. So I've started number 1, and then I just recently finished number 2, Noel. And if you look at that, you'll see that it's totally different in that respect. That I took off the candies. I'm not a fan of candy at all anyway, and I wasn't a fan of the way they looked. They're very blocky, and I thought they didn't add anything to Noel. So I just kind of repeated the pattern, and instead of doing, the pattern called for, I think, light gray little crosses. I think it's I just did French knots because I don't mind French knots. I used to hate them, but I don't mind them now. But anyway, so I've only done the 3 out of 30, is it? So I won't get them all done this year, I don't think. I'm too involved in my cross stitches, and I don't know if I'll ever do all of them. Because, like I said, there's a few of them that are just like, oh, no thank you. But the next thing is, when I was looking at that thing, this came up, and it was off as, it was discounted, reduced, whatever. I have to learn how to do this. But anyway, this is Gingerbread Santa, and Christine at Calico Whimsy was doing them. I just thought, this is so cute, but I'm not really keen on the beads. And I thought, oh, but they are adorable, and I need stuff for my Christmas tree. And they are very quick to come together. Again, the directions aren't stellar, but they make They make some really adorable, and it's so simple and easy to put together. And it's just like zoom, zoom, zoom. It's over and done with. It's not a problem. But it putting them together as a kit, putting them together with the backing on it and stuff. I haven't done that yet. I think what I'm gonna do is wait until I have them all done. Even though I'm keen to start and see how they look as an ornament, I think what I'll do is um, I'll wait until I have them all done. That way I can just cut out the cardboard, because they say the cardboard. I think I'm gonna just use the sturdier cardboard, because I recommended using a thinner cardboard. I even considered using some batting material, but I have loads of batting material from all the quilting projects I've done, anywhere from placemats, mug rugs, all the way up to king size quilts. So I've got lots of scraps that would work, but I wanted to do a little bit more stable than, because I'm not a person who puts all my Christmas ornaments away in specialty containers and stuff. I kind of just throw them all in the bucket. So they need to be sturdy enough to survive my rough handling. Anyway, so these are the ones I've done so far. Oh, goodness. There we go. And you can see you've got all the back stitching, so you do have to back them, and they're kind of flimsy, so they need a little bit more stabilizing. And then you have the little felt Christmas tree. I almost wish I had more color sequins, because I like the Christmas tree to look multicolored, lots of multicolors, but I'm not going to go out and buy a few sequins just to put it on there and enjoy. Some of these have a lot more stitching than others, but it's been fun. So, and I'm just doing these as the instructions call for, because it starts off, I think, with a candy cane, then you work your way down, and I'm just crossing them off as I go along. There's ho ho ho, sparkly sparkly. I'm sure all the lights will look wonderful coming off these beads and sequins, and the little mitten. You could do it that way, I guess. I'll have to look and see where they put the little hanger. And this is what I've cut out next. It's going to be a little ornament there. Oops. But these are the pieces that you first sew on this, and it's got the little indicator where you put it, and you just make sure to hide it, and then next time you've got the number there, and then you put the next cutout, and you can see from the pictures what to do. Like I said, it's not that big of a deal. The thread is quite crunchy, I guess you would say, and so I use beeswax on it, which makes it a bit tacky, but at least it stabilizes it so it's not tangling up all the time. So I just take I just take a beeswax and run it down, and then run my fingers down to kind of rub the beeswax into it. It protects the thread from tangling as much. I use that for metallic threads as well. Is it the best solution? Not really, but it helps work with it. The same thing with the tiny stockings threads. The Bucilla threads I'm not keen on at all. So, but I hate wasting them. So I'm finding a way to kind of use them, so it's not a problem. And sometimes if they're really crinkly and crunchy and being a real pain in the tush, I'll cut them at shorter lengths and use them that way. But I'd rather have length on the thread and just use it up as much as possible. Oh my goodness, I've been on this for 39 minutes. Good heavens to Betsy. Anyway, this is the project that I found recently. One of the UFOs that I put aside. My son used to play rugby a lot and judo, and he was in scouts, and he was in army cadets, and all kinds of things, marching band, and he was a very busy young man. And I would always take a book, and I would take my crochet with me, and I would take cross stitch with me. And depending on the light conditions and what we were doing at that point in time, I would just have my crafts with me so that they were applicable to each situation. That's why I tend to have a variety, like I said, a variety of crafts going. I have a pair of socks to knit in the car. Just vanilla socks. Yeah, the only times I don't have them in the car is when I'm starting them off, because I do two at a time. I do two at a time, toe up on magic glue. So I starting them is a bit of. I'm not one that can just go, okay, shoom, shoom, shoom. I need to pay attention, and I have a piece of paper that I put knit and increase. No, I'll do knit and purl, or I'll do on each side of the paper. It's like when I'm increasing or decreasing, I'll have increase, and then on the other side I'll have knit, because the toes you'll do increase and then knit, increase and then knit, and then when you come to the heel, it's all about increasing and then decreasing. So I've got increase, decrease on one side, and then knit on the. So anyway, that's how I keep track. But that's what I was trying to say, is that at the moment, and I don't have it with me this time, but because I haven't done that much, I also have a stamped kit that I bought because early spring I was doing a gift for my husband, because we both love the beach and we're living near the beach. And one time he very romantically he wrote, yeah, love in these like H plus G love in the sand all these years ago, and I always remember that because it was like it's massive letters, and he did it. He's a sweetheart, my teddy bear man. But I saw that and I thought of him, and I wanted to try a stamped kit, and it's yet another one of those things where I wanted something that was relatively simple, very little changing colors, so that I could be effective but not have to, because I've done years past I did a stamped kit, and it was a flower kit, and I'll show you one day maybe. Yeah, it was lots of flowers and lots of change of threads and stuff like that, but it was just it was because there were so many symbols right on top of each other, I found it difficult to differentiate between the symbols. So I wanted something a little simpler. And I thought when I bought this newest kit, stamped kit, that it was going to be the same. Wrong. It's got 41 colors. Yeah. Anyway, but while I was making my husband the Love Sunset stamped kit, I was really enjoying taking it out into backyard to me, but what they call the garden, our garden. In our flat, we've got one little section of garden at the back of the house, or the back of the building, that is ours. And I was taking it out and sitting in spring sunshine, listening to all the birds, watching them build their nest and feed their young, and just enjoying the sunshine. Because after being raised in the South and living most of my life, yeah, I was born in Alabama, and I lived most of my life in Mississippi and in Alabama and in Texas, and I've lived in other different states, but living in the South most of my life, where there's lots of sunshine, lots of warmth, and then England is known as rainy England for a reason. It's usually quite cloudy in the winter time and drizzly, which I'd rather have a torrential rain than to have that will last for 30 minutes, like in summertime, and in Texas and Mississippi, Louisiana. You'd get a torrential rain, and it would last, as my grandmother called it, a gully washer, and it would last for about 30 minutes or so, and then it would just go, and it was over and done with, right? But over here, it will drizzle, and it just gets you damp enough to be uncomfortable, but doesn't actually make you wet through unless you've been out. And when my son played rugby, I would sit on the sidelines and you'd be on the sidelines for hours, especially if you was playing a rugby tournament, and you'd be in the drizzle, and the snow, and the cold, and the sleet, and the hail. But being outside for hours as in this drizzle, or walking the kid, walking children to school or whatever, you're just constantly in a continual drizzle that's not enough to put an umbrella up for, but enough to make you uncomfortably damp. And it's just no, I'd rather just be sopping wet. It's a lot more comfortable. Anyways, between the cloudy, dark skies and living as far north as we are in the winter time, we don't get that many hours of sunlight anyway. I mean, it's quite interesting because I grew up in the south, so the days between the day lengths between Christmas between summer and winter weren't that much, but there's definitely a difference here where we are. But anyway, we'll go back into a different time. But anyway, this is a project I abandoned years ago. I just recently found it. Sorry, my nose is itching. Become a rabbit. Anyway, my nose is itchy. And one last thing I wanted to talk about is I'm currently doing. Oh goodness, I'm bobbinating at my some threads at the moment because I'm kitting up another project. But anyway, this is a Attic 24 cupcake blanket, and it's a free pattern on her website, and you can get the yarn from, I think, Wool Warehouse. I enjoy the colors, some of them. Yeah, there's most of them I really love. There's a few in there that are like, but because it's, I guess you need those not as bright and beautiful colors to kind of leaven the overall effect. But there are a few that are like, no, I'm not really keen on it. But anyway, I have talked enough. I really appreciate you listening to me natter on about my crafts. My husband is a supporter. He likes my crafts and stuff, but like most people, he just, male and female, they just glaze over. If they aren't interested, they just kind of glaze over. Or I'm happy for you. It's not like, oh cool, what did you do? What did you do? Anyway, I'm not a tech whiz, and obviously I'm not very savvy in respect, but I'm sure that things will eventually get to. And I'm looking at the time thinking 48 minutes. Heavens to Betsy. 48 minutes talking about my craft. But thank you for listening to me natter on. I forgot to warn you about the crochet. I hope it wasn't too disturbing to some people. But it's crafting is part of my life, and I'm happy to share it with you guys. Y'all have a lovely day, and thank you for coming to visit with me. Bye.